Hello and welcome to the Gooners podcast, season 5, episode 70. Of all episodes for me to miss, Mike, I missed episode 69. I mean,
you would think you'd be a shoo-in for that. I thought you were going to postpone the pod, to be honest.
It was the sexiest podcast I've ever seen with you and Owen. You did a great job. You, Owen, and Jared killed it. But today we got to talk about a game that could have been worse. Should have been better. There's a lot of blame to go around. I think the blame is mostly going to fall on one person today, and I'm just kind of preparing for that. But before we get on our first open micer, and if anyone's in the chat and wants to join in, you can go to gooneropenmic.com and join in. It'll take you right into our red room. Mikey, your thoughts on the game today in a brief.
Brief.
Before we go on the game, are we not going to address the elephant in the room?
Oh, I forgot. Yeah, this is I was going to Mike, and then Magic Aston, who,
hey guys,
lovely man who I've met today, came down from Orlando. So basically, let me put it into English terms. It's like you came down from Birmingham to London to visit, while I'm down in Florida, and you got to love it. This is the reason I'm an Arsenal supporter. And I apologize for referring to it as this, but meeting people and getting to know them, putting faces with names and hugs and stuff is really all we have to cling on to right now, because there's not going to be Europe and there's not going to be a new owner anytime soon. So how about that? How about them apples?
Yeah, and we can all see how jealous Mike is. By the way, he's over there wishing he had my warm, smooth jazz voice to cuddle him, and he's not.
It's killing me. It's killing me. It's not fair. It's not fair. I'm booking the flight as we speak. I'll be there by the end of the day.
That's funny because we're due to leave right before the end of the day.
Virginia it is. I'll meet you there.
So again, before we go to open mic, what are some of the topics that you want to throw out there that we can cover today? And obviously, when you come on this show, you can talk about anything you want to talk about. It's your floor. But what do you think are the big issues of the day today?
I think starting the lineup is a massive, big thing to talk about, experimenting with some new players in different places, and substitution has to be a topic of conversation for sure, because we're at that point where kind of everybody's looking at it and saying, okay, any minute now, we know you're going to change the team going into second half. Oh, wow, you didn't change the team in the second half. So that, I think, is a decent, solid talking point. And then also Aubameyang's fitness and actual availability. I'm kind of curious if anybody has an insight as far as, did he only play 5 minutes because literally that's all he had in the tank? Or is there any other reason for that? Because I personally I think that's so amazing to drag him all the way to Spain for 5 minutes. I understand that maybe the thought process was,
isn't that his job though, to go to Spain for however many? I mean,
that's true.
We didn't inconvenience him today. I mean, do you feel bad that we inconvenienced his ass?
It's a beautiful city from what I hear. So maybe not. Yeah. That, and then dude, our midfield, it's a massive talking point. And now that Dani Ceballos is actually rolled out, maybe Arteta's hand will be actually forced to potentially move Xhaka back into the midfield. We will see. I
was liking what you were saying until it involved Xhaka playing, but all right. So let's.
Can I throw one in? Can I throw one in there, because 100%. I know this is going to be a spicy one, which is Gabriel Martinelli. Let's have a chat about that while we're here as well. So, any of you guys that have anything to say about a young guy that got 14 goals last year, not being involved in the starting lineup with no strikers involved, we want to hear from you.
We do indeed. GoonerOpenMic.com. And to join us today, a fellow podcaster, someone who has burst onto the scene in recent months with excellent takes, excellent content. You got to check her out. It's Jess. In fact, it's not just Jess. It's Jessinho. Welcome to the Open Mic Show.
Yeah, I'm excited about this. I've been dying to click on the little link this whole entire time, and I think this might be the perfect one. Maybe you guys will probably give me a better perspective, because talk me off the ledge, you guys. Just talk me off the ledge.
We may not be able to do that, but
we might nudge you at this point. And I'm a very positive human being.
We're gonna nudge you off the ledge, see how it goes for you, and then decide whether we want to do it ourselves or not. So
perfect. I'm the guinea pig.
So what do you want to talk about?
Yeah, so I think my biggest thing with all of this is that I can accept if the team is not I know this team isn't great. I know they're not. I accept that we're off the pace, but this thing about like them kind of everything simmers under the surface. It doesn't ever seem like we're playing with natural instinct. It seems like we're very stiff. We're not confident in what we're doing. And these players just feel like they're not doing what they would usually do. We don't get second balls, third balls because of that. It's just, we're kind of just existing within a game, and it kind of goes without us actually being involved. And we either play really well because the other team doesn't get involved. They kind of allow us to play our game, and Emery didn't allow us to play our game, and look what happened. And I've had a hard time this entire season trying to figure out if that's the players or Arteta. But I'm starting to come back around to the fact that it may be Arteta and what he's asking this team to do. I can accept that they're not as good as Man City. But what I do know is that we have better players on paper and in reality than teams like West Ham or even Villarreal, teams like Aston Villa. But I think the difference between us and them, the difference between us and them is just they play with natural instinct. They're allowed to just kind of press and run and make the natural movements, and we're not allowed to do that. So it's just weird. I like Arteta. I think he's a good coach, but I'm like, if these are the players that you're going to have, you're going to continue to ask them to do things that are outside of maybe their skill set, so you're not getting the best out of them. Where do we go from here? I know the players aren't good enough, but is Arteta the right guy? Not is Arteta good enough, but is he the right guy to move us forward? Because right now it's looking a little bleak for him.
I don't understand the decision making. I mean, like, look, before the game, I looked at the lineup and I'm like, well, at least it's different. Unai Emery would not have been expecting us to line up that way. But and a goal in the 5th minute will pull you off that and so make it pretty easy to question his approach. But we offered nothing going forward. We looked like a team that wasn't playing a unique format where we don't have an obvious target man, but we have people pushing and crosses going to people. It was just a void. We weren't playing a false 9. We were just playing like a 4-6. Yeah. And that was it. Like, there was no third line there. So, we were trying to figure out what the formation was for the entire first 55 minutes of the game. And it appeared as though ESR was maybe our false 9 type of guy.
We were basically playing with no striker up front and no even false 9, because he was playing deeper than you would find a traditional false 9. I think I want to agree with Jess, and I want to throw this out to you, Jess, which is, Arteta's, I actually don't doubt the vision of Arteta in the way that he wants to play. My thing is, are you adapting to the level of our team? Can our team play the way that you're asking them to play, given the personnel? I mean, what we need is quick, incisive, one-touch passing. Who on our team can do that?
Yeah, we lack technical quality and athleticism in key positions that would allow us to play in that way. And that's my issue. It's not really about Arteta per se, because he was hired by somebody else, right? So for me, it's if this is relatively the exact same team that you're going to have, which is most likely if we don't win the Europa League and because of the ownership that we have, if you're unwilling to budge on the way that you want to play, then we're going to continue to get these results. I think we have a handful of players that can play this style of play on a consistent basis at a high level. Everybody else kind of can hit it here and there, maybe play it sometimes, maybe sometimes not. And then that's where the inconsistencies come. So you have people like Rob Holding and Granit Xhaka playing in a system that doesn't suit them. Why would you expect them to do well? So I think he adapted last season and we got some joy out of that, but that's not the way he wanted to play. Now we're playing this way and we're actually changing the system. It's like we play it well, then somebody figures out how to beat us and then we change it again and we don't ever go back, So I don't know. I think it's just growing pains with Arteta. He's just very green and he's making mistakes, but I just don't think that if we're going to have the exact same team, we probably need a coach that that wants to and can get the best out of these players, because now look at Thomas Partey. he's
I'd
nowhere
rather not
near.
at the moment.
You know,
$1 million question for you, Jess. Do we commit to Arteta and get the players that he needs, or do we sack Arteta and get the coach that we need for our level and maybe downgrade the overall strategy that we're going for?
I mean, I would say that if he had made Gabriel and Thomas Partey and these players that we brought in and spent money on better, then I would say probably we need to give him the money and move on. But what have we seen from him to give us like confidence that he's going to be able to improve these players? Like if he gets better players in, is he going to make them better or no? You know, and I'm starting to question that. For a while. I was very much like, okay, I know he can coach, but now my confidence in him is a little shaken. Now I may wake up tomorrow and think something different, but right at this moment, I'm thinking we probably need to give good resources to somebody that knows what to do with them, because he's so new that we can't afford to spend the money and let him potentially squander it, which is kind of what I'm seeing with Thomas Partey and Gabriel, 2 players that came in and we can say have had indifferent, if not below standard seasons for us.
And it's impossible that those 2 signings end up being shit signings in the mold of a Mustafi or a Willian. I mean, it's just impossible that ends up being the case, but it is it is happening. So Mikey, I know what I'm going to wake up and think tomorrow morning, which is, my God, my head fucking hurts right now. But I mean, first of all, you know, the topic is Arteta. You have to say the words Arteta. You have to get your child that just screamed to say Arteta.
He's equally as angry.
I mean, how many more? I don't care that I wasn't the first person to recognize that he might be overmatched in this job. I have been Arteta since the Chelsea game where I came off that ledge. I've been Arteta by some time. I don't like what I'm seeing, but I trust that there's a process. I mean, I hate, for lack of a better word. It is getting harder. Today was 1,000% on him. You know, the play wasn't great, but they had almost nothing to work with from a lineup perspective. So where do you stand at this moment? And then Jess, we're gonna move to our next open micer after that. But you know, where do you stand, Mikey, on you know how much more patient we can afford to be, given that, you know, his one personnel change situation in this club since he came in as manager really was to just clean out some shit to try to clean the team up of the clique.
Yeah.
Do you trust this summer is going to actually improve the team under him?
I try to keep myself as consistent as possible in regards to a lot of things. So when it comes to Arteta, I've said this from the start, looking at our midfield. If our midfield partnership is missing either Xhaka or Partey, our whole attack goes to shit. There is zero in transition. So in regards to the starting lineup, I'm disappointed in the sense that I truly understand why he's playing Xhaka on the left-hand flank, because he's thinking it's gonna help him get the ball out faster. But unfortunately, when you're getting the ball out faster to Dani Ceballos, essentially Partey has been playing by himself the last 3 weeks now, whatever it was since we lost Tierney. And it's not doing the team any good. So I was really disappointed not to see Xhaka back in midfield, and like Cedric. I called for Cedric myself to play at left back. And I just looked at it as simple as, guys, they leak goals as much as we leak goals. So we could get at them. All we got to do is attack them. And maybe, Cedric could offer a little bit less in offense. And I'm like, okay, hey, as long as he gives Chukwueze quiet, I think we're good. So that's just 2 cents on the lineup. But as far as the whole Arteta thing goes, man, listen, we got away with murder today. It was 2-1. That away goal is extremely valuable. Even at 2-0, I looked at it like we were still in it. We lucked out.
No, because we're gonna concede at home, so that one goal was absolutely vital.
Yeah, 100%. So as far as consistency goes, where I was telling you, I'm looking at the team, and I know that when I say stuff like this, people interpret it like that's a freaking excuse. Stop it, right? And by all means, guys, I know that the team could have been doing better, but to ask Partey to essentially do a job on his own next to Ceballos, or to ask Cedric to come up with and equal the quality of Tierney at left back, it's a lot to say. It really, our depth in squad is horrible at this point. We're missing one or two key players and everything goes to shit. So when we have a healthy squad, thing that I hold on to, so to say, for my own personal sanity, is that we've played better when we have our full options. So super unpopular opinion after a horrible freaking game. I've always said for months and months, I'm waiting until after the summer. And Mikey, you and we've said this on this podcast a few times.
I am too, but I'm not as confident as I was. A few weeks
I'm holding on to it because
badly.
Yeah.
No, I don't blame anything. And for the first time in a really long time, this is, I was going to try to analyze this like Mike, the overly positive or optimistic fan that I normally am, and Mike, the guy that likes to watch football. Nothing that I saw.
Are you referring to yourself in the third person?
Yes, I like to. It makes me feel important, Mike.
Yeah, yes, Mike likes to.
Mike likes to.
Get out of here.
Insane. Damn you, Mikey. If I'm looking at this as purely as a football fan, I'm looking at this team. There's a snowball's chance in hell that we're making it past, because what we saw today was horrible. Not only did we get outplayed, but we got severely outmanaged. I'm bitterly disappointed, and this has been a recurring thing where our players come out and it almost always looks like the other team is up for the challenge and we're just kind of casually playing like we got this. Well, I'm here to say we're not nearly that good to think that we could casually walk in. If you're not running your asses off, you're doing something wrong. And at this point, it's so difficult because on one hand, you're like, hey, the manager needs to motivate them. On the other hand, what fucking player needs to be motivated to play a semifinal in the European tie?
One of ours.
Yeah.
So it's damning. It's very damning, to say the very least. So anyways, to answer your at the in out question, I'm in until after the summer. That I'm grasping on straws, and I fully understand that a lot of people are wavering, and I do not blame them at all, because it takes a special type of person to keep calm in these situations. But I cannot see us making it past next summer and not having it improved. Literally, one midfielder would improve our depth. Literally, Kolasinac coming back from loan would improve our left back situation right now. I know, Mikey, you owned it. This is
Maitland,
I owned the one Kolasinac jersey,
and you ruined his career. So what I'm saying is, if you get the kit out,
you have a Kolasinac jersey.
Yes.
Don't ask.
No. Let me explain the story.
Explain yourself, mister.
I was in Chicago the weekend of the what do they call it now? Is the Charity Shield, Community Shield, whatever it is, right when we had just signed him. We were playing Chelsea after we had just beaten them in the FA Cup final, and Kolasinac came on and had a stormer of a game. He was amazing. And I may or may not have had beverages during that game. And so after the game, hours after the game, and continued beverages, I'm walking down Michigan Avenue in Chicago saying, I got to get the new home kit. They have them in 8XL, so I should at least, buy one. And who should I get on the back? Kolasinac. So I got that shirt, and it was the death of the football club.
And it haunted you ever since.
No.
Hey, just real quick before you go, Mike just went on. Arteta, do you give him the summer? Do you get rid of him now? What do you think?
My gut is telling me he's not going to get the money that he would need in order to make this team successful, based on our ownership. So I would say we need to get in a manager probably in the summer that can deal with get the best out of this team. That doesn't mean that that's a good long-term solution, but this team we're sinking fast, so I might wake up tomorrow and think, maybe, but right now I'm thinking we might need to move on from him. Not because he's a bad coach, but because he doesn't have the resources. But I'll let you guys get on with your open mic and get other people on.
Tell us where we can find you. Give all the plugs out because you're doing fantastic stuff.
Fantastic
content.
Thank you, guys. You can find me on Twitter at It's Justino. And then if you go into the YouTube search bar and put in She Knows Arsenal, you'll find me. My face will pop up, and you'll probably see my most recent stream where I almost cried talking about Thomas Partey. So there you go. I'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you for having me.
If you're into like Arsenal fans crying, this is a perfect channel for you to watch. So it's like this whole new.
There's a niche for everything.
Yeah, this whole new thing. So anyway, Jess, thanks for coming on. Appreciate it. Love what you do. And frankly, I got to say it now loud and clear, you are the inspiration for us doing these open mic pods as you did one of your own. So the podcast community likes to give to each other. And so I appreciate that. And you're always welcome back.
Thank you so much, Jess.
You're welcome. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye. So I just have to point out that Aston drinking Cabernet Sauvignon out of the bottle makes us like brothers for life. Yeah, I mean we're cut from the same cloth.
Sometimes you just got to do what you got to do, and Arsenal puts you in that mood. Okay,
it does. Speaking of drinking,
I swear, if you guys are listening to jazz right now, I'm going to be bitterly disappointed.
We're not going to do that. Lawrence Emmanuel, my friend. First of all, do you have your caps lock on right now? And secondly, this is a man who I've met in LA. Spent some time at the Underground with. Love talking football with him. We're usually in the chat together, and it's his first time. He is breaking his duck on the open mic night. But good afternoon, Lawrence, and welcome.
Yeah, hi, Mike. How's things?
Probably I'm trying to do better than I'm guessing you feel right now, because I know you a little bit, and you can't be happy right now. And I'm gonna. We just had a. I'm sorry, Lawrence. We just had a delivery of booze that I'm going to start to get into. So, so if you've got a few minutes of your thoughts that you'd like to share, I'm going to mute and let you go, because this is your forum.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Well, where to begin? I missed the first half an hour of the game because I was watching the pre-game show, and it just went on and on and on about the European Super League. And it got to the point where I just fell asleep. And when I woke up, Villarreal just scored the second goal. So I don't know if it was lucky or unlucky. I missed most of the first half. In saying that, I just don't know what Mikel Arteta was thinking by selecting that team. Yesterday, he said everybody was fit. He had a full squad to pick from. And yet, I see the lineup. There's no Tierney in the team. There's no Aubameyang in the starting lineup. There's no David Luiz in the starting lineup either. And I'm thinking, well, what the fuck is this going? I mean, if all the players are fit, why aren't you playing the strongest team? Holding should never play. I've never rated Holding. He's a League One player at best. We signed him from Bolton, and he's done nothing in the 5 years that he's been with us. And we should send him back to League One. Xhaka is absolute crap. I mean, he's about as much use of a left back as I am. He got constantly ripped apart by the guy on the right hand side. I don't know. I mean, from what I saw, I didn't see any urgency from the team whatsoever today. Not even after we got the penalty. There was no urgency. It just feels like they're on the beach, the whole team. I mean, the Premier League season is over and done with. This is our golden ticket to get into the Champions League next season, and basically we fucked it up. Normally, I'm an optimistic person, and I would say, okay, 2-1 down from the first leg, we've got a chance. But honestly, I just don't see how we're going to overturn this next Thursday. You cannot play Odegaard and Emil Rose-Smith together in the team. It just doesn't work. And yet Mikel Arteta doesn't seem to understand that. The substitutions again were poor again. You know, what's the point in bringing on Aubameyang with 5 minutes to go? You know, and bringing on El Neni and William when the game's virtually over. I just don't understand it. And I feared that this would happen once Arteta got the job last year. Sorry about the
Quick question. You know, Arteta is responsible for the starting 11. Today, again, we saw Dani Ceballos with a shocker of a game. How much of that culpability do you think falls on him?
Yeah, definitely. I've never rated him. You know, I mean, I've heard he's a bit of a troublemaker at the club. I remember at the start of the season when at the game at Fulham, he got into a bit of argy-bargy on the pitch with Nketiah. And when was it a couple of months ago, he got into a fight with David Luiz on the training ground. And to me, he's nothing more than a shit stirrer. You know, I mean, I've got some mates who are Real Madrid fans, and they've never rated him either. He says he's a real troublemaker.
What European club, Mikey, do you envision Dani Ceballos playing at in 2 years? Like, what do you think his level is at this point? I mean, and again, this is not to say that Arsenal's above his level, because Arsenal's not above anyone's level at this point. I mean, Danielson could come have a massive return and and improve our squad probably right now. But like Dani Ceballos, young, Real Madrid, on the verge of making the first team or possibly having a future there. 2 years from now, is he at like Ibar or something at Tassaray? Mikey? Michael Hernandez.
Sorry. I was on mute and I was trying to look for more quotes here. I'm so sorry. Dani Ceballos. He is not going to go back or survive at Real Madrid because he's failed to impress thus far with us. But I do see him being at a higher level, you know, not title challenging, but Europa League / Champions League challenging team like Sevilla, Valencia, Villarreal, because look, his form and his form is not permanent because he have shown some signs of brilliance. What else? LA Galaxy, lovely. But when regards to Ceballos, the one thing I will say is he's just one of those La Liga / Serie A players where the football is played and slightly slower. So I just don't think he's a good fit in the league. We saw that with other players that came to us. Who was the gentleman that we got from Barcelona? Suarez?
Suarez.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Who was the gentleman?
The gentleman. I call everybody gentleman.
Nicer guy than me.
Force a habit. The gentleman.
He was injured.
So he was injured. He was injured. Barely was able to play. But
Lawrence, to be fair, he didn't have a broken back at least, though. I mean, so we have that going for us. Which
the guy with a broken back won us the title.
He didn't stub his foot on a beach ball.
But here's the thing, and I know this goes back a little further than Arteta, but we have Dani Ceballos, who's played let's be honest, absolute shockers in Europa League, making crazy individual mistakes. We have Xhaka, and we had Mustafi not too long ago. What is with Arsenal and buying just guys that cannot put it together for 90 minutes?
No, we're buying guys that can put it together for 90 minutes, and then they come to Arsenal.
I think some of these players are just not coachable. They don't take in what Arteta tells them to do.
Then the DNA and stats DNA is not doing its job, because the DNA part is supposed to be about, you know, it's not supposed to stand for do not be arsed. It's supposed to stand for, you know.
I mean, if you trust the process, you know.
Yeah. Aston was typically amazed that I actually bring my bell on vacation, and I bring my bell on vacation even when we're not going to do a podcast. I bring it on like.
He just generally thinks that if he hits the bell wherever he is, people will serve him.
Well, because when my wife turns me, oh, there she is, lovely girl. When my wife turns me down at the second time of asking, I have to ring the bell. So, all right. So, Lawrence, what before we let you, I've just remembered that I've got to jump off at 7 Eastern time, which is in 30 minutes, because I got to watch my stud son Magic Jr. play in his varsity soccer game.
I'll be watching you too.
Yeah.
So you better be good.
So we're gonna try to keep to the 5 or 6 minute rule. I apologize that we normally give more time to the people that come on late. Today I think we've done it in the reverse. But Lawrence, 6 months from now, we will be about 8 or 9 games into the next season. We will have had a summer transfer window. We will have had the first quote unquote normal training summer in a while. There will be players that play in the Euros, but no AFCON, no Copa America, I don't think. And where do you see this club 10 games into next season, as far as who's in charge? And oh my God,
are you okay? I think we just lost Lawrence.
I now believe in flat Earth because I think Lawrence just fell off the edge. But where do you see us? I mean, do you see like everything starting to come together, or do you see us like just on the downside, or something in between?
I'd like to be positive, but under this current manager and current ownership, I can see it only going one way. Down.
Yeah.
Honestly. I wish I could be more optimistic, but this season has been a joke in general. And as I said, this tournament was our saving grace, because we need the Champions League to get us the players we need to make us a stronger side. And if we don't make it next Thursday, then I'm sorry, it's going to be the same thing next year.
And sorry.
My bad.
Yeah. Why did you do that? Yeah, we are. It is time for vodka. No Charlie tonight, I will say. No Charlie ever for me. That is not my cup of tea. Lawrence, do you want to share anything where we can find you other than at the underground pub in Hermosa Beach? I mean, is there any kind of rituals that you want to share? Or?
Well, you can find me on Twitter at once a Gooner, always a Gooner. Or
they allow that many characters?
Well, that's the name on my page. Yeah, I think it's Once a Gooner. If you type in Once a Gooner, it should pull up my Twitter page. I'm also on Facebook as well, if you want to talk to me on that.
And we do know that you used to reside at my favorite tube stop of all time. I'm a Piccadilly line guy. Lived in Knightsbridge. Very blessed life. Arsenal, Piccadilly line, and then at the north side of that line is
Cock Foster's, the best place.
I like one of those two things, and it's Foster's. I don't like the other one. Right. Thanks so much. Yeah, Lawrence. Look at Aston's doing a better job of hosting this than Mikey and me put together, but
Aston's on fire
Lawrence,
today.
Come back soon, please, and you're welcome to speak. You're welcome to speak in all caps in our chat anytime you want, mate.
You're welcome. Thanks again. Bye.
All right, take care, buddy. All right, next on. And by the way, Daniel Harry, we did see you in the red room. I don't know if you lost connection or if you just got impatient waiting for us, which we wouldn't blame you for. But if you come back on, we'll put you on because we have a preferential treatment for first-time chatters. So next up, someone who's in the room where it happened, Scott. Scott in Chicago. Look, I'm doing my Scott impressions. We rented a convertible today because we're in Florida, and I forgot to bring my hat when I picked the car up. So my head now has 91 melanomas, and this is probably the last podcast I'm going to be able to do. But in any case, enough about me. It's about you. So angry, sad, feel a little bit better with how the game ended. What do we got from you?
I mean, frustrated, I think, is probably the best word. You know, I've been a pretty staunch backer of Arteta for a while. I've sort of seen what he's going for. I like the way he communicates internally, externally, but we're reaching a point where we're getting just too many negative results against teams whose players aren't as good as ours. And you can't keep doing that. And if the answer is that Arteta is going to be a Pep clone, which means you have to have like top 5 talent in the world for it to work, I don't know that we have the wherewithal to.
That was an inadvertent bell. It's a drop kick, and please continue.
You know, I don't know. I mean, if you're going to have to back him to the tune of like spending $100 million every summer, you know, to be able to give him what he needs to make this team win, I'm really concerned that that's not going to work.
I'm starting to not really understand. I've known that he needs and wants something to make this team win, but I'm starting to really wonder whether he knows what he needs to make the team win.
And the other thing that concerns me is, you know, when we first saw Gabriel early in the season, and we're like, wow, what a great signing. And then when Partey finally arrived, and we saw what he could bring to the team, and we're like, wow, this looks terrific. Partey is now a shadow of what he was 4 months ago. And
we got to talk.
Gabriel,
we got to double back on that because we really have to drill down on Partey today. But go on.
Gabriel is falling behind Pablo Mari. Yeah, I'm seeing guys get worse under Arteta as opposed to getting better. You know, Gabriel Martinelli scores however many goals last year in all competitions, and he's been healthy now since December, and Arteta can't seem to find a way to use him. And yet every time he does throw him on there, things seem to get better.
So, Scott, $1 million question real quick. If Arteta is out, who do we put in? Who do you think can get the most out of our team?
Boy, you know, Jurgen Klinsmann, your table's ready. I don't know.
He said Jurgen Klopp.
Oh, I thought you said Jurgen Klinsmann. I was about to knock you. I was about to sack you from the podcast.
How many $1 million questions does Aston have?
Aston rolls deep. He has a lot of $1 million questions.
He has all the $1 million questions.
I ask because I like to cater to our fans overseas, so I ask a lot of 700,000 pound questions, which incidentally is what I saw when I got on the scale this morning. But
no, actually, believe it or not, I did say Jurgen Klinsmann. I was joking.
Oh God!
I don't actually have the answer to this, and my big concern here is, like, right now, who is the guy who sacks Mikel Arteta and hires his replacement? Like, is this Edu? Like, is this what we're talking about here?
Tim Lewis.
Honestly, you know, Patrick Rice comes back.
Patrick.
Yeah, and this gets to something that, you know, as much as I've had some epic debates with our buddy Elliot, Yankee Gunner, you know, about Arteta in versus Arteta out, and Elliot's actually softened on this over time, but he and I have had some real knockdown dragouts. And he made a very salient point a while ago that I think might be coming home to roost right now, which is this elevation of Arteta and his role at the club to a single point of failure. And then if he doesn't work out, like, what's the organizational structure above him to clean it up? And that's what really concerns me right now. It's like, okay, I'm drifting towards Arteta
Harris of Peckham. That's the organizational.
That's a mandatory Lord Harris comment for the pod right there.
Yes. Well, I mean, Lord Harris can go fuck himself. It's the Peckham part that I have to bring up in every podcast because Peckham. I mean, I would name a town Peckham if I was calling it anything. So.
And what I need to bring up every podcast it sounds like is that we have no owners that might maybe make the hard decisions that might benefit the club. It's almost like if we had a certain group of people out, we would be better.
Can we go?
Let me put that. Hold on. I'm gonna put that comment up there for you.
Hashtag Cronky out.
Where we don't talk about how Daniel Ek is saying and doing all the right things. Can we just have one podcast where we don't talk about how Cronky is tone deaf and we need them to leave as soon as possible? Can we just have one podcast where we don't talk about that?
No.
I was not going to go there because I've always felt that the actual force and effect of the ownership is more limited than most people realize. My bigger concern is what is between the Kroenkes and Arteta. And that's turned into an absolute void. And in truth, if you want to backtrack,
it's the Wenger model, except he hasn't earned it.
Right.
They gave it to Wenger. They gave that to Wenger at a time where there was essentially ownership battles over the control of the team, and the one constant was Wenger, and they stuck with it too long. Now they're giving the same carte blanche to a guy who could end up being early stage Wenger, or he could end up being, what a lot of douchebags who are about to be made look very, very correct, are saying that Arteta will be. And
guys,
I want to pointed out a very good point, which is where's the David O'Leary? Where's the Thierry Henry? Where's the Dennis Bergkamp in the middle to say, you know what? I can see that this is actually not going as far as we think it's going to go. There is not that person at this moment. It's literally Vinay and Tim Lewis.
Yeah, isn't it Tim Lewis and Edu though? Because
ultimately, but Edu's part of the problem that we're talking about in a sense. Potentially.
I thought Edu and Mikel were like on the same level. Like I didn't think that either one could they were kind of partners at the same level. I thought Vinay was above them.
I think you're right, Aston, which is sort of that gets to the heart of my question. Like, who actually is the guy that sacks Mikel Arteta right now?
The format of Arsenal Football Club is literally mirroring what we see on the pitch with our midfield. There's a front line, a back line, and there's nothing in the middle.
I thought I was asking the $1 million questions. Then Scott gets on and asks the $10 million question. You know what I mean?
Yeah. By the way, Scott, when you hear Edu, what do you think of?
No, I'm not going there, Mike.
Smart man, Scott. Don't encourage him.
No, I'm not. Don't encourage him. That wasn't a fecal matter joke. That was a Hamilton joke.
Yeah, no, I do know where you're going with that.
All right.
You have thrown that one at me for Freddie Edu in the past.
No, okay, I'm nothing if not predictable AF. But
no, don't worry. You and I commune on this one. But at the moment, Hamilton's a little less emotionally trying than Arsenal.
Yeah. So let's ask this. Starting with you, Mike. Yes. And this is something that we've been talking about throughout the entire season, but it changes from week to week. Julian Salmon, I do believe Arteta could be 90 minutes away from the sack. I'm pretty sure the 90 minutes he's referring to is next Thursday, not the Newcastle game. But if we crash out against them now, mind you, a month ago it was, would you sack him if we lose to Olympiacos? And I was like, no, because we need to have the summer, so on and so forth. So to say, no, I won't sack him for Olympiacos, and then say, I will sack him for losing in the semifinals against Villarreal would be a bit hypocritical, but it's a good question at least to ask. Mikey's made it pretty well known that he would not sack him by his facial expressions and vigorous nodding and shaking of his head. Scott, is it possible that as soon as it becomes obvious, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that we have no European football money or experience next season, that they sack him?
Are you asking me what I would do, or what I think or what they would do?
What they would do. Do you think it's possible that they sack him under any because the worst possible circumstance is the one that we're in, crashing out at this stage and finishing 9th, 10th, or 11th?
One thing that I think we can conclude about the Kroenkes is that, for better or worse, and I think most Arsenal fans would say worse, they don't react to what's happening to the here and now. They are taking a long view in terms of their ownership. And you could argue that that's the right thing to do, and that they believe that Arteta is going to progress as the club progresses. I haven't seen any indication that they're not all in, or that they would go off knee-jerk because of what happened in this particular tie. I would say the odds are slim that they would sack him. And getting to the $10 million question, Aston, is who even is there. Like, is it the Kroenkes that would have to sack him in the first place? And if that's who it is, no, I don't think they're going to. I think they're going to give him one more window. I think they're going to try and fill a couple of big holes on the team. But he's definitely on the clock next season. I don't think they're going to let him stumble through another season like they had this year, which, in fairness, as someone who has drifted from more Arteta in to Arteta out as I have, in fairness, this was his first full season managing a club. And it is totally within the realm of possibility that he is better at that job next year than he is now.
So to add some contrast, not contrast, sorry, wrong word. To add some context and what my perspective is with the whole idea of just swapping managers out. Listen, the way I look at it is PSG could do that because they have a ready-made team. Also, if a new manager comes in, you just chuck 300 million at him. Same with City, same with Chelsea. How much did Chelsea spend? Like 250, right? Ready-made team. This whole idea that, again, lack of better words, because I know it turned into a thing of process, as people like to say. The trust the process thing, the flipping a massive culture shift within a club, which includes shifting off players that literally you had to pay those pricks to fuck off. We already know the ilk of the players they were, because two of them disrupted an already crappy locker room with Schalke. The other one has done the square root of fuck all in Turkey, when everybody was like, where you still see like, oh, if we had him in our
bring
squad,
maths into the situation. Man.
There you go. If we had him in the squad, we would be top 4. Are you freaking kidding me? So just taking that into consideration, taking the culture, taking the extreme lack of depth within our squad, that if you're looking at Partey, I look at it almost like this, Scott. If Partey is a 10 out of 10, then Xhaka is our 6 out of 10, and then everybody else is about a 1 or 2 out of 10. And that's the depth we're dealing with. Same thing with left back. So you take one player out of our current squad, everything goes to hell. And I know that it sounds absolutely crazy when we're comparing Arsenal versus West Ham, Arsenal versus Everton. If you're looking at the very least the depth and quality of their substitutes compared to ours, our bench players, ignoring like Martinelli, of course, he's a talent. Everybody else being fit for the most part, our bench players don't make it into a first team. They don't make it into Everton. They don't make it on to West Ham. So my whole perspective of this thing is to sack a manager in the middle. He's working on a massive thing. It's almost like you're building a shed. He has limited nails, limited wood.
But he keeps using the dodgiest pieces of wood, though. That's what irritates me.
But dodgy is all we have.
Well, let me jump in here.
No, he's got shit wood and he's got awful wood, and instead of using the shit wood, he's using the awful wood. It's like weird.
Let me jump in here, Mike, because we are famously, as you've put it, always opposed to each other. And we have great arguments and great debates. But I want everybody on the audience to know,
for sure,
that I 100% agree with Mike. If you listen to what Mike's talking about, when we lost Arsene Wenger, you have to realize that we were destined for 8th to 10th. We don't have the players that we think we have. I mean, like I've said today, I said it multiple times in the pub when we were watching the game. Not a single one of our midfielders in our entire 25-man team squad would make it into any of our teams prior to 2018. Period.
And then I brought up Danielson, and then he was like, "Oh shit, you're right."
Yeah, Danielson would make it in. Danielson would make it in, and that's the sad part. And that's what I really want to kind of come with is I do think Arteta is working with an impossible problem. The real question is, how long are we going to stay down here with this level of team? Is Arteta the right coach for this level of team, or do we need to either upgrade the players or get a coach that's not that can deal with players that aren't quite as good? You know what I mean?
Aston, I think you make a good point, and this is a point I've made in debates with people before, that, look, 5 years ago, we had world-class Ozil and world-class Alexis. And at the moment, we don't have anything resembling that. And that is valid. And I think that what the Cronkies have suggested that they're committed to is this Arteta project, which is going to involve a significant squad overhaul. I think that if we do good business this summer, there's going to be 7 or 8 outgoings, hopefully 2 or 3 very significant incomings. And I think Mike and Aston, I think both of you make good points that I think that Arteta is not dealing with a top of the Premier League squad or anything resembling it. The flip side of that is I have come around to the idea that Arteta is not doing enough with the guys he does have. And as I said at the top here, I think we're getting too many bad results against teams whose players aren't as good as ours. And that dims my optimism for what he could do if you gave him the players he supposedly wants. Because we have better players than Villarreal. We have better players than Everton. We have certainly have better players than Fulham. Certainly have better players than Burnley. And we're consistently getting, disappointing results against the likes of these clubs. I mean, look, we made the Slavia Prague thing a hell of a lot more difficult than it needed to be. And so again, I think there's a valid argument that you give Arteta 1 more year, continue the squad overhaul, get some of that squad depth where we need it, hopefully some progress from some of these teenagers that we probably all get our heads out over our skis on a little bit in terms of exactly how far into their development they are. Bukayo Saka and Gabriel Martinelli and Emile Smith-Rowe, these are wonderful talents that have the potential to be top-tier Premier League players. They're not there yet. So I think that, there are valid arguments that Arteta hasn't had the time he needs to put it all in place, but there are also significant red flags that even if you give it to him, he's not far enough into his development as a manager to maximize that yet.
Scott, one last thing I want to kind of throw at you, and this is my hot take.
And then we're going to switch to Stevie.
Yeah, I actually disagree with you. I don't think our players make it into those teams. I think most of our players do not make it into most teams in the Premier League, and I think that we have a Arsenal bias. I think when we're using El Nini as a starter, and you're using Xhaka, and you're using even Ceballos, I don't think they get into most teams. I don't think Rob Holding does. I don't think that, honestly, even Callum Chambers at right back, I think he's our best right back, but what team does he get into? And I think that's the main issue. And I definitely agree with you there with the differential in our player quality there. So it was great having you on though, Scott.
Good talking to you.
I think we might have found our 5th Gooners podcast person, but Scott, last words, and then promote your Twitter handle, which has a very nasty word in it.
I love Scott, by the way.
Scott's fantastic.
That is awesome.
Scott's mentioned that and we've drank at the pub watching in 2 different cities at least.
Yes.
Hopefully London soon, but Chicago and Arlington. So can't wait to.
As a fan of the Gooner podcast, Scott, you're one of my favorite guests.
Well, thank you, Aston, and likewise. Last words. Don't give up hope for next week. This team has had a way of coming up with some performances with their back to the wall, certainly in this competition. And you know what? I still give us a 50-50 chance to come through this next Thursday, but I continue to have my faith in Arteta shaken, and that's unsettling to me.
It is, and I mean, so much more will become clear after next Thursday. But Scott, thanks for joining us. Always good to see you. Welcome back anytime. Talk to you soon, buddy.
Cheers, mate.
All right.
Thanks, Scott.
By the way, your grandmother's watching the pod, Mike.
Steph passed out. She's sick of
this. Oh my God! Yeah, this is the first Arsenal podcast to have a sleeping woman in the background. This is, normally I've got the window behind me. I got the Arsenal signed jersey. Now I have the beautiful woman lying down sleeping. I thought our podcast was pretty exciting, but not everyone agrees.
Does this qualify for breaking a duck? I feel like we got to break a duck for this.
Yes. But I mean, look how beautiful she is. I mean, look, I locked her in way before I turned into this fucking monster that I am today. So, speaking of beautiful monsters, Stevie,
Big Steve,
Steve's been waiting. I'm sorry, man. I
cool.
I love you, so I begged you to join us, and then I kept you in the red room for like almost an hour.
Be excited.
How you feeling? How you doing? You look like you're back. You look like you're back in your routine again. You were on the couch, I think, last time we saw you.
I was in the spare room on the single bed, so I'm like easy enough to like pull myself up from the corner. On my double bed, shuffling like to the corner of that because of my stomach. It was too much pain. But yeah, I was in there earlier on watching the football because we got TV in there, but. I'm getting there slow. I'm back in my room playing a bit of FIFA. Actually winning with Arsenal.
It's nice that somebody is.
It's disappointing. I mean, it's one of those things where we got the away goal, so you're kind of like we're still in it. We can go again, but the 2 goals just shit to give away.
Arsenal love to do this. They're like, oh my God, this is the worst thing that could possibly have ever happened. And then by the end of the game, we're like, well, it could have been worse. That's our salvation is that we come out of the game like wasn't as bad as it looked like it was going to be. Like it's like when you go in for like a medical exam and you're worried about, like my son was this week, we were worried about the needle. You're like freaking out about the needle, and then they stick you in the arm, and you get a bruise, and they're like, "Well, it wasn't as bad as it was going to be." I mean, that's how we are.
Don't talk to me about needles. I've had more pricks in the last couple of weeks, and
I don't think we're not that kind of podcast, Steve. Steve, we are not that kind of podcast.
In Soho, but yeah. Oh Christ, yeah. I know what you mean, though. I think two players tonight. I think. Haven't got anywhere near as much credit as they should have done, and I think really helped us stay in the game. And that's Callum Chambers and Bernd Leno. I thought Bernd Leno at times was quality. I don't think it was at fault for either of the goals. I don't think it was at fault for any of the goals.
You've brought up Bernd Leno, and the man who has literally created this art has just joined us on the podcast, Sebi. With his son, who's named after an old Jewish guy.
Hey, B, shh. You're on TV. Be quiet.
What's up, B?
Hey.
That's Bernard. That's Barnard, the Brazilian footballer.
Sebi named him
guys?
Bernard
Sebi, mute yourself though while Steve's talking,
player.
because your goddamn son is being too loud.
Wait,
I know. I'm sorry.
Hey, Steve,
I'll mute
take
myself.
us through the emotions that you felt during the games, like the ups and downs.
Anger.
I was pissed after the first goal, mainly because one, it came down Xhaka's side again. He just invited Chukwueze to get into the box, and then the second goal. Who scored the second goal? It was
Albiol.
Was it out?
Yeah, it was fucking 89-year-old Raul Albiol
from the corner. Xhaka's looking up in the air. The ball's already gone past his head. Partey's so late coming in to mark his man on the far post. Just piss poor, like really poor. And then I was sat there. I was just thinking, this is going to be 3 or 4. This is going to be 3 or 4. I had a bet on actually. I had Chukwueze to get a shot on target, Nicolas Pepe to get a shot on target, and then Foyt and Murray to make 2 tackles each. So then I spent the rest of the game just thinking, come on, Pepe get a shot on target. Chukwueze's just had his.
Chukwueze is one of my least favorite Chucks in the whole world now. I mean, like, I love Chuck D, but I'm looking at him. But Chukwueze, fuck that guy.
I love Chuck Norris. That's my personal favorite. I thought Chucks were great until I met this guy.
Pork chops.
Yeah, Chuck meat, Chukwueze just doesn't. So Sebi's gone.
Yeah. So my thing here is this, Steve. Like, I'm going to be honest, as an Arsenal fan, as a football fan, this game meant everything, right? This was supposed to be our chance to kind of cement our spot in the Europa League, for us to go ahead and get on and move to the finals. We know how important that is for our seasons. Why the hell weren't our players up for it?
We've seen them get up for games that were one-offs. We've seen them do it for Leicester, Tottenham.
But we've also seen them absolutely go missing, go hiding in games. We saw it against Prague in the first leg. What was that? We saw it against who did we play the other week? And was that Fulham? I mean, I was half out of it against Fulham.
Aston said at the pub today. Steve, Aston said at the pub today. Yes, this is a big cup game that you would think that we could get up for, but the opponent was not better than us.
So, and they didn't even really care. So one of the biggest things I pointed out was, like, with 2% possession or whatever the hell ridiculous stat it was, they managed to make more targets on goal whenever they have the ball. Why is it that Arsenal just doesn't seem to look like they can be arsed to play?
Because I mean, I wish I had the answer to that question, but we've seen it so often this season. As Mike just said, you've got games like Leicester, you've got games like the Chelsea game, Man United earlier on in the season. We've got games where our players turn up and they perform out their skin, but then you've got games where you think you should be winning it and they disappear. And I don't know whether that's down to Arteta and his man management skills and how we can fire the team up, or whether it's just because the crux of this squad is still the same spineless bunch of fucks that have been the same under Emery and Wenger. Like Xhaka tonight, I thought was poor. I thought Rob Holding, at times he sort of stood his ground and did all right, but for the most part was poor. Ceballos he started the first 10-15 minutes and he looked like he was going to have a storm. But I just don't have the answer to the question. And as everyone was touching on earlier on about Arteta, is he going to stay? Is he the man to take us forward? What's going to happen? Again, I don't know. I still think he is good enough to steady this ship should he get the backing. But at the same time, if he gets the backing in the summer, which he should do, and I think Mike, other Mike, not Magic Mike, mentioned earlier on about a couple
Junior, if you will.
The absolutely non-Magic Mike.
No, Kevin said you're magic, and he was wearing his Dickie, so that means that you're magic.
His Dickie bow. Yeah.
You said, like, a few weeks ago, people were saying, if he doesn't get past Benfica, he's got to get sacked. And then it was if you don't get past Olympiacos. Then it was if you don't get past Slavia Prague. And we've hit all those. So surely these people that wanted him out on the basis of those games, he surpassed expectations and now shut up. That's not the case. I'm not saying that what he's done now is good enough anyway. But if you are going to keep shifting the goalposts, you have to say, well, he did that, and he did that. What now? And we know that we're going to finish, anywhere between 9th and 11th. We know that in the summer, Kroenke is either going to back us or he's not. And if he doesn't, then I think if he does back Arteta with money and signings, Arteta shouldn't be here. We just say, look, this isn't going to work. It's shown this season that it's not going to work. Let's move on and try someone else. But if Arteta does then get the players in, I still stand by the fact that he should be backed in the summer and he should get until at least December. If we're not sitting in the top 6 come December, get rid, because it's going to be another season where it's going to be disappointment.
And I've felt that way. My only concern that's starting to grow is like that almost makes next season in the but blah 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 just came in and it's Arteta's team and now we need to wait till next. Look, optimistic fans, toxically positive fans like myself, we keep pushing the fucking deadline out, and I know that. I'm aware. I'm self-aware. I'm dumb, but I'm self-aware. And so, all these proper Arteta out people may end up and likely will end up being right, but I don't know where I'm going with this at the moment, but I do want it to work out. I don't want to just keep chopping and changing constantly.
That's it. You can't have a manager in for 18 months and then change in 18 months.
You can point out Thomas Tuchel as much as you want, but you had a team just like 4 years earlier under Jose Mourinho that was a Galactico team that just wasn't playing for their manager for whatever reason and had the talent. We don't have that. So chopping and changing, we're not going to get a new manager bounce to the extent that Thomas Tuchel has because Thomas Tuchel's getting the best out of world-class players. We don't have
we have world-class players.
We have one world-class player, and he's 20 years old, and he's not quite world-class yet, but you can tell he's going to be. We're not in that position. Mikey.
What's the name? What's the name you're dropping?
It's got to be Bukayo.
Yeah, Bukayo. Bukayo's world class. Let's get that out there. Let's not get it twisted.
He's not world class yet, but you know he will be.
He is
world class. No 19-year-old is doing what he's doing right now. He's world class.
A 20-year-old is, and his name is Phil Foden. So we'll back up. Here's what's going to happen now with the Gooners podcast. Stevie, you can stick around. What is that? Oh, Miami Vice. Yeah, we've gotten a lot of Miami Vice comments tonight.
He's muted himself.
Hey,
guys. If you're saying I'm Don Johnson, I'll take that, even with him being like 70 years old at this point.
Hey, guys, why are you making Miami Vice comparisons? What about us is like Miami Vice?
Yeah, I don't understand.
We don't.
I've never watched Miami Vice.
It's very subtle. It's like Brighton Vice, I guess it would be the version of it over there. All right. So
EastEnders.
The two of us are going to drop out because my son, Magic Jake, is playing his varsity game, and they're streaming it online. So I'm going to go watch that.
Mikey, what position does he play?
He is he can play 9, 7, or 11. So he generally is a right-footed left winger, but he can play right wing, left wing, or he can play up top. And he had a crucial assist in their first game. They beat the team that is traditionally top of the league that they're in of their schools in a extra time 3-2 AET, and it was fantastic. So we're out of town tonight, but we're gonna watch them. So we're gonna head off. Mikey, finish up with Stevie. We got Dean in the red room. I hand the keys to you, my friend.
Thank you, sir. And $1 million questions all over.
This is what being a Gooner is about. All right. So even if we're out of Europe next year, even if we friggin' finish 11th or 12th again, meet Gooners, enjoy your time with them, and all the fucking losing will be that much less painful.
And my last words are just going to be thank you so much, both mics, for allowing me to be on and express myself among fellow Gooners. I think I honestly can't say how much I love you guys. And like Mike was saying, no matter where we finish, we're always there for each other. And one last word, his boy is magic. I saw that assist. It was great.
It was a hell of a lot better weighted than any friggin' pass that Arsenal made tonight. But
that's for damn sure.
But someone is getting bummed tonight, Danny. And when I come to God Manchester soon, it's going to be you. All right. Before this gets any weirder, we're going to leave. Love you, Gooners. We still in this tie. And as usual, I don't know how to fucking end anything, so I'm just going to leave.
Come on, Arsenal.
Come on.
I'm just going to remove you myself. Oh, there it is. He removed himself. What's going on, gentlemen? Welcome to the Gooners podcast. Mike is now gone, and we could have a civilized conversation. So, Dean, dude, long time no see, my friend. Of course, you just hopping on. Is there anything within the actual game that you want to cover? Anything that sticks out that you've heard? Anything that's grinding your gears, if you will?
Not particularly. It was a rough game. Obviously, the first 30 minutes was abysmal. After that, it's gotten a little, I won't say better, but less worse, I think is what the common sentiment would be. I keep seeing people talk about Xhaka's performance. I thought he wasn't that bad. I mean, their first goal maybe put a little bit on him. I think both their goals were kind of lucky effort hustle goals, which is kind of disconcerting in itself because we got out hustled to a ball kind of peeking around in the box for their first goal, and then set piece second goal, just one of those things, right? But I think Xhaka, at least in the second half, from what I was watching, he was doing fine defensively, right? He didn't really have many issues. Having Ceballos on the same side as him to start out was probably an issue because we know Ceballos is the best defensively. So, yeah, I give Xhaka a little bit more help than that. But, kind of like what everybody's been saying, right? Take what positive you can. We technically only need a 1-0 win at home next week, and we're through for what it's worth. Who knows what we'll get out of that. But, hopefully we'll have more full strength. Like we allegedly were supposed to have today. Maybe Tierney will be back. Hopefully, maybe not. That should help out immensely. Aubameyang could get more minutes, and go hopefully just get the win next week.
Yeah, no, that's interesting that you brought up the Xhaka thing because to your point, literally, I think he just got overpassed by Chukwueze once. And for the most part in the second half, he was really solid. So I can't really necessarily fault him for those goals. For me, Xhaka was missed in the midfield. So it's not necessarily his fault at all. It's as simple as we didn't have anybody in transition. Ceballos' form seemed to have fallen off a cliff a few months ago. Right. And poor Partey has been running his ass off left, right, and center for the last 2-3 games, essentially by himself. So, Big Stevie, how optimistic are you going into the second game, taking into consideration that it seems like Luis, Lacazette, and Aubameyang are going to be a slam dunk to play there, and Tierney still up in the air, but training and looking optimistic?
I think it does depend on who comes in. I wouldn't have David Luiz come in. I think Tierney will be back. I do think Tierney will be back. I think it will get a few minutes against Newcastle on Sunday. I would like to see. I don't think Lacazette is he back in training. I thought he had a hamstring. I know that Aubameyang and Tierney and Luiz were all training this week, but I try to be optimistic, but I don't see us winning it easily. And I worry that maybe a draw. I think it will probably be 1-0 for a lot of the game, and we'll go to sleep late on and won't have enough to bring it back. I can just see that happening. And I don't see going out to Villarreal as a huge. I mean, obviously it's hugely disappointing, but I don't see it as a huge negative, considering people have been saying for the last month and a half, each knockout stage, Benfica are such a good side, and we're not good enough to beat them, and we got through, and then the same with Olympiacos and Slavia Prague. So I think as much as a lot of Arsenal fans have said we'll get to the final, it will be a Man United Arsenal final, and I think they've said that because we hate saying we're not going to get there. But I think if we're really, really honest with ourselves, getting to a semi-final, and Villarreal have not been a bad side this season. They slipped off quite a bit in the Liga in recent months, but they started very, very well, and they were first or second for quite a lot of it. So yeah, I'm not too optimistic, but I think we can do it. I think we can do it if Tierney comes back in, and as Dean said, I think we did miss Xhaka in the midfield, or it may have been you, Mike. My head's gone, but I think Xhaka will be moved up into the midfield. Yeah, we need something different at left back, even if it's Cedric at left back. I'd like to see that, or even put Chambers over at left back. Chambers has played there a couple of times. He's come off the bench this season and played there a couple of times, and bring someone like Bellerin or Cedric at right back. I just think we need something different against them. We're gonna have some form of striker. I think whether Martinelli plays up top or whether Aubameyang starts centrally. Yeah, I don't know yet. It's still quite blatant.
No, yeah, it's honestly it's really difficult to start thinking about the game that's upcoming with optimism, having seen what we saw today. So like today was one of those games where I was telling people where like we ended up scoring an away goal, which is going to be massive for us. But as I'm watching the game, just as a football fan, I'm looking at this and I'm like, this is bad. Like they are running over us, and I don't understand how is it even possible that somehow we end up with some type of lack of motivation, but it seems like that. And to me, that's absolutely amazing that a team of professional players can't get themselves motivated for a semifinal. Big Stevie mentioned Martinelli, Dean, and one thing that recently just came out, let me see here if I can find the quotes. Martin Keown said the manager doesn't like him. It's simple as that. Do you think that is that something that crosses your mind, that Arteta just simply does not rate Martinelli, or is it could just be simply as he's young, he was coming back from a long-term injury, also rumored to be training essentially to be our future striker? Do you think it's purely tactical, or do you think there's just something within the player? Let's say training. We all know that training is a big thing for Arteta, that Arteta sees and he's just not buying. What are your thoughts on that, Dean?
I hope not, because it seems like every time Martinelli gets in, he makes things happen, right? So I get, the whole training and practice aspect of it, to play the game, but then there's also something to be said that when you do get in the game, how you perform, and he's been fairly solid, anytime he's had playing time with us, going back to when we first got him last year. So, kind of get to Stevie's point too, and talking about, me personally, I could care less about Newcastle on Sunday. I don't care if we play Balogun, Aziz, whoever else we can play the whole U23s. I don't care. The league is dusted, right? So it is what it is. We need to focus on the next tie with Villarreal. I would even go so far as to, since we know we need to get a goal and need to go for it, I would like to maybe even see Saka at left back, just to give us a little bit more offensive firepower going forward. Move Martinelli to replace him, and then move Xhaka back to partner with Partey. And then assuming we have Aubameyang up front, and then have like a front three of like Pepe, Martinelli, and ESR, something like that. And then, have Saka on the left side too, just to have that little bit more offense going forward, because we know we need a goal. So what's the problem with doing it for one game now? I don't think he doesn't like him, right? To get to your question, but you have to think, you have to wonder, like, what's going on. A couple months ago it was, he's coming back from injury, he's young, like you said. Now it's okay. Well, he's been back a couple months. He's still performing when he gets time. What's going on? So I think he is slowly bringing him along, kind of like with Aubameyang. It just seems to be like an Arteta thing, period, to make subs late, as we know. I don't know why he chooses to do that, but that's his thing. So, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, we definitely need to go for it next time with Villarreal, and our work is laid in front of us. We know what we have to do, and we know who we're going to play if we do get there. It's definitely going to be United now. So the map has been drawn.
Yeah, definitely. So, Big Stevie, listen, I am like the ultimate optimistic person, right? So me saying that I think we're going to make it to the final, and me saying that I do believe that we have a chance to beat Manchester United is not out of the ordinary on this channel for me personally, because that's just my nature. But take the same question that I had for you with Dean, like taking into consideration that those teams are coming back. Just simple yes or no on this one. Do you see Arsenal in the final? How poetic would it? You know what I was gonna say? How poetic would it be if we relive that Champions League final, where we're gonna be up 1-0, Villarreal is gonna get a last-minute penalty, and Bird Leno is gonna come through and stop that? I would lose.
I would love that.
I would
love nothing more than that. I would love nothing. The one thing that seriously annoys me, and as I mentioned earlier on, two players I think didn't get enough credit tonight, and that's Chambers and Bernd Leno. The problem I have with people that want to criticize Bernd Leno, he has his flaws. We know that. They're so quick to talk up Martinez. Oh, look what Martinez did today. Look what Martinez did today. Bert Leno, we sold the wrong keeper, blah, blah, blah. Every time Martinez has a decent game. But when Martinez is a howler, none of them mention that. None of them mention the fact that Martinez has let in the same amount of goals as Bert Leno has this season. But also tonight, Bert Leno made some cracking saves to really keep us in the game. Not a single mention of that anywhere. So if we were 1-0 up, they got a penalty and Bert Leno saved it, I would be absolutely overjoyed.
Massive, dude.
It'd be fantastic. But to just touch on Dean's point about Sunday, I would like to see some more of the kids. However, as you can probably see in the background, I'm also a Sunderland fan. My great granddad played for Sunderland. So
I remember that.
Always been in the blood. So I want us to make some changes, but I want us to smash Newcastle. Do not like Newcastle. They're like Spurs, but not as bad. But yeah, for me, I want to win that one. But yeah, Balogun I think needs a run out. I don't think he'll get it. I think Nketiah will, but yeah, I'd like to see some changes. Matt Ryan coming in. Don't want to see Tierney starting, even if he's fit. I think things need to change, but let's go out and win that one as well because it gives us momentum going in the next game as well.
Yeah, one thing that I've noticed that the trend that Arteta has is when a player's coming back from injury is it's been very normal to see them have a cameo in the game. So no matter what the result is going on with Newcastle, for me, a clear indication whether any of Aubameyang, Lacazette, Tierney, or Luis will start is not only if they start, but if we see Tierney come into the final 20, 30 minutes, he's a nailed-on starter. And I look, I'm crazy like this, but I think we're like one Tierney away from potentially dominating this team because all we need is a half competent left back, which Tierney is way above that expectation, of course, and which will allow us to move Xhaka back into the midfield. And I think it's game on. Now, if we start next game off with Xhaka at left back and our only other midfield option being El Neni, I'm gonna be a little hesitant, and I'm gonna hold my breath and hope for the best. But that's gonna be a really damning thing. But that's where we're gonna wrap up the show, guys, because we keep on tiptoeing into preview territory as much as we can. We covered the game as much as we could because it was a very pessimistic and very difficult game to watch. Chat, thanks for sticking by and making it fun. Danny, David Ziegler, of course, Dublin Gooner, Arsenal Granny, dude, so many Mass Gooner, so many regulars. Really appreciate you guys dropping by. Big Stevie, I understand that you started a YouTube channel, correct?
Started a podcast the other week.
Go free to plug.
Yeah, so Big Steve's Big Ramble. It's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts and stuff. First episode is just me talking about my weight and the surgery that I had the other week. But I think going forward, I think there's going to be an episode about the Arsenal and football and, sport, like, because I'm a big rugby fan as well. So there's going to be a topic talking about that. It's going to be a topic talking about music. And I think I'm going to do the next one with the main guy from one of the bands I'm in. Just talking about everything. So there's that. And then, I'm sometimes on Guns and Yellow Ribbons, which is another Arsenal podcast. So be sure to check that one out as well. So
awesome stuff.
That's where you can find me.
Dean, mate, you are quickly becoming a very close friend, not only on Twitter, but you are a habit supporter of not only this podcast, but not another Arsenal podcast. So, sir, you kind of just recently hit the scene. One thing I'll tell the chat and dear listeners, whoever's still on, is Dino has only recently become an Arsenal fan 5-6 years ago. So I always joke and say I feel bad for him because I still remember some of the good stuff. Dean is in it for the abuse, but
I give him a stop.
He's got FA Cups. Hey, he's got FA Cups. He could be worse. Be an Arsenal fan for the last 6 years, or be a Spurs fan for the last 50. I know what I'm choosing.
Brilliant stuff. Dean, you want to tell these lovely listeners where they can find you, sir?
For sure. So I'd say I don't have a podcast to plug, so I was going to plug your other one, but at the Chug 31 on Twitter, I will love all in any interaction with fellow Gooners. I was going to say too, if we do have guys fit next week, we need to shout out Bruno Guimaraes, or obviously his name, because that man is working miracles with our training staff, getting these guys back quick.
Yes, true.
Tierney was supposed to be out for the year. Lacazette, all these guys are supposed to be out way longer than they were. They're all coming back, so that man needs to get a medal as well if we do go on and win this Europa League.
Fair enough. If they all are back for the next semifinal game, I'm building a statue myself for this gentleman. So we have been the Gooners Podcast. My name is Mike Herz. I've been your host. You can find me at Mike Herz, there you go, FC on Twitter. Feel free to follow. Let me know that you're following me off of this, and I will be glad to follow you back. I also host a podcast called Not Another Arsenal Podcast. Feel free to join. YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, we're everywhere. We will be back over the weekend to discuss the Newcastle game. Until next time, come on, you Gooners.